Now comes the hardest part. I have to stand up.
Okay. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we like to remind ourselves why we're Rotarians, and we recite the four-way test. So of all the things we think, say, or do, number one,
Is
Is
it
it true?
Is it truth?
fair?
number two,
will be
Is
fair,
it fair to all
Concerned.
concerned?
number three,
will
Build
build
build goodwill and better
better
friendships.
friendships, and finally, number four,
Will
Will
be
be beneficial to all
all
concerned.
concerned.
just wanted to make a couple quick announcements just around the system real quick, and then we'll jump right into the program. Dan Goss, do you have an update for us? You want to remind everybody about the golf outing?
Golf outing, Monday, June 7th. Please go to our website. It's front and center on our website to register. We've come into the 21st century. We are able to take credit cards to get everyone registered. Unfortunately, due to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, raffle tickets cannot be purchased via credit cards. So that will be an item that can be purchased at the day of the event. More information will be coming forthwith, but get your foursomes together. If you can't make the golf, we do offer the opportunity to come to dinner. Roger, way to go, buddy. Appreciate you with your donation and also coming to dinner. So should make for a great day. Any questions, give me a shout, whether it's at my office, smoke signals, whatever works. I'll try and track it all down and figure it all out. That is it, Jim.
Great, Dan. Thanks a lot. And by the way, all of these quick announcements are all in the weekly bulletin that's sent out. Gary Weston does a great job with that bulletin. I just want to let everybody know, if you go to the bulletin, you can see there's a Rotary work session that starts on April 14th. And if you remember, that's a vocational service project that's offered by Rotarians for Rotarians. So if you get a chance, or if you know someone that could benefit from that, please guide them to those webinars. Mac, did you want to add anything on Crutches for Africa?
Well, I've been working with Michelle Bailey from the Keystone Club. She's somehow, in one of her zillion different involvements, is locally representing Crutches for Africa, which is a project from club out in Denver. And we're collecting any kind of mobility devices, crutches, wheelchairs, walkers, anything of that nature. And we set up a collection point at the Planet Mart in Mars. There's a barrel there. People can leave it there, or if it's bigger, just set it aside. The store staff will be collecting it every day. And eventually it will find its way to Africa, probably via Smethport and other locations. And it's a good charity. If you had an injury or an operation and recovered and don't need your crutches anymore, please drop them off and they'll be put to very good use.
Great. Thanks, Mac. Appreciate it. Just a quick reminder, District Assembly, April 27th and April 29th. So again, all the details in the weekly newsletter as to how you can connect for that, but please encourage you all to participate. Shred It Day, big fundraising event coordinated by our satellite club, is on May 1st, being held at the Richland Township building. If you get a chance, please participate. We need volunteers, and certainly let others know. It's a free will donation once they drop off shred materials, but was successful in the fall, and we look forward to another big one in May. And then finally, I just want to make sure everybody knows district conference is on May 7th and 8th. And Beth may want to talk a little bit more about that. But again, everybody, we encourage you all, please sign up, be part of it. It's a great program, great speakers, and will be a nice way to send Beth out at a real high note for managing us all through a very tough year this year. So just want to make sure everybody was aware of those. And at this point, Chuck, why don't I kick it over to you if you want to do some quick intros leading into our presentations today. You're still on mute. You're on mute, Chuck.
It's not even intentional.
All right, there we go. And I was just going to say that I think Beth needs no introduction. Everybody knows Beth, and we've been delighted to have her with us for so many different programs this year. Diane, what can I say about Diane? Don't mess with Diane. Diane is deals with the Army. She deals with intelligence. She deals with security. Anyone who saw Gary Weston's piece that he sent out, she has a very impressive background. And she's with the Erie Club. She is the president-elect of the Erie Club. And for the last couple of years, she has been the program chair for the Peace Builders Committee with our District 7280. And if you want more specifics about the intelligence, the security, the Army, I direct you to Gary's missive that he sent out the other day. But Diane, we're really happy to have you here with us and to talk to us a little bit about the Peace Builders.
Oh, that's such a nice introduction. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for inviting me. As noted, I've been the chair of the Peace Builder Committee at the district level since about 2018, I think. I can't say that I've had many successes. My goal was to have all 42 clubs become Peace Builder clubs. That has not been successful. We have about, almost half, which is great. And we've done a lot to raise awareness about peace building as a central tenet of Rotary. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. You are a Peace Builder Club, so you already know the basics, but we'll just talk briefly about that, which will make you better evangelists for it. And Rotary, as you well know, has been focusing on polio eradication and has decided to pivot toward peace. And so peace comes in many forms, and Rotary wants to encourage its clubs to continue to build peace. And this comes from a really deep place in Rotary. At the end of World War I, and then again in World War II, Paul Harris was very, very deeply touched by the destruction that took place in both of these wars. And he was quite overwhelmed that after the destruction of World War I, that something as horrendous as World War II could happen again. So he made his life dedicated to trying to reduce the possibility of something so devastating happening to us again, or causing ourselves to get to again. And he was, there are many, many Rotarians across the world who are notable for being instrumental in creating the United Nations. And Paul Harris was particularly notable for that, although he stayed very much in the background, but he was supportive of creating that organization with the intention of trying to allow a place for negotiation and discussion of global matters that could help us from deteriorating into war in the future. So peace is very much at the heart of Rotary. It's a new initiative, but it's not really a new part of Rotary. If I may go ahead and share my screen. I see you've given me power for better or worse. You'll see what's interesting is that the Rotarian Action Group for Peace talks about waging peace. So not just being peaceful in our hearts, not just hoping for peace, but the idea is that Rotarians are actively waging it around the world as opposed to waging war and putting the same kind of effort and resources into peace that we typically see nation states putting into war. So Rotary sees 4 roles for its members, its clubs, its districts, its zones.
So, do you want to play the presentation so it's bigger screen for everyone?
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I hadn't done that. Yep, there you go. Sorry.
There you go.
I've been doing this all morning in the classroom and I forgot how at home. Here you go. So Rotary sees itself and its members as practitioners, educators, mediators, and advocates. So we have a number of roles as Rotarian in trying to promote peace. You know, we can be practitioners, sort of like, you know, I've had a professional opportunity to practice peace by working at the U.S. Army's Peacekeeping and Stability Operations Institute. The United Nations has about a dozen peacekeeping training facilities around the world, and our Army's Peacekeeping Institute is actually the American one. And so there's an association of these, and one is in Ghana, the Kofi Annan Center. And so the place where I worked closely with the Kofi Annan Center and closely with the Department of Peacekeeping and Affairs at the UN. As you know, Ghana is kind of become a centerpiece for peace in Rotary's forward thinking. It's building a peace center in Ghana, partly because of the location with the Kofi Annan Center. And we like to think, those of you who are aware of the Peace Jam, which is an organization of African youth that actually get together in the summers when you're allowed to get together. They bring African youth from around the entire continent, 300 to 500 youth who spend a week, or maybe it's 2, learning about peace and how to actively wage it. It's not a Rotary program, but it's a Rotary partnership because we support it through various club relationships, not Rotary officially. And it's led by a gentleman who is actually right now a Peace Fellow. He's getting his master's in peace and conflict resolution through Rotary. And he became very good friends with a woman at our club in Erie, Dr. Joyce Miller, who was a Peace Fellow in Thailand, where the two of them met. And he calls her his Peace Mama. And unfortunately, we lost Dr. Miller on Christmas this past year, on her birthday, after 2 years of battling a brain tumor. So the Erie Club is very cognizant of trying to keep her memory alive and keep the relationship with the Peace Jam, which again is associated with, this is where young people come and they actually hear from Nobel Peace laureates and nominees throughout the course of their time and learn how to build peace in their local communities. So that's just one way that we can be practitioners. We can be educators in ways like, I think one of the district clubs created a training program, for instance, for anti-bullying that was supposed to be implemented in the schools before the pandemic hit. They had to change their plan. But I mean, that's a way to think about building peace just on a small scale, maybe in a school. We can be peace mediators. We can do that in our own lives. We can do it through the courts. My ex-husband was a mediator for the court of Fairfax, Virginia. He helped people not have to spend too much money on their divorces or other kinds of disputes, and mediated, negotiated all kinds of disputes. We can even do that in our own lives when we have certain family members that may come from different sides of the political spectrum, for instance, who may get into heated arguments at the holiday table. We have opportunities to be mediators almost every day. And we have opportunities to be advocates. Why would we go the path of violence or the path of dispute when we can go the path of peace and maintain that goodwill and those friendships that are so central to our lives as Rotarians? So there's 4 roles in promoting peace. And as we know, originally there were 6 areas of focus for promoting peace. So Rotary looks at actual, activities that are directly related to conflict prevention, conflict resolution, and promoting peace in places where there has been conflict. Also in fighting disease. So it's not forgetting its role in eradicating polio and other disease prevention activities that we as clubs, districts, and as Rotary International work toward. It's also focused on clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Also on the focus on the family, particularly mothers and children who are the vulnerable parts of our society. But without them, we can't thrive, we can't move forward. And I should say that the United Nations and the United States Congress have recognized women on their specific role in peace and security, that if you leave women away from the negotiating table when you're negotiating peace, you will not have sustainable peace. Not only will a large, half the population be left out of the negotiations, which means they're not inclusive, they're not comprehensive, but it tends to be that in many developing cultures, women are actually the ones who spend the money. They're the ones who make the financial decisions for the family. And if they're not happy, they have many ways of showing that displeasure. In addition, women are also tend to be the ones who control the marketplaces in most developing countries. And so boycotts and strikes by women in the marketplace can be very, very powerful messages that actually impede peace or promote it, depending on how they decide to use that power. I recall there was a circumstance where women in South Africa felt that the leadership wasn't doing enough to deal with the scourge of AIDS. So even very prominent women went on a sex strike, and the primary leaders of the country, their wives, publicly declared that until something was done about this problem, that was that. So women have found ways to use their, shall we say, voices in peace building in many, many ways around the country, around the world, and all we should do is support them for sure. Rotary also supports education. Obviously, we do that in many, many ways. We've gotten a little bit derailed with my club this year because of the pandemic and the inability to meet and to actually go out and do projects. But one of the things I plan on starting in my club as president-elect is we have kind of lost sight of the importance of Rotary having an identity in our communities. So every year a new president sort of decides we're going to be the club of this. Now we're going to be the club of this. And our 2 presidents ago, we had a very highly placed educator in our community who was our president, who established a relationship with one of the most needy schools in the Erie School District. And we have developed a program through the United Way in Erie where we call it community schools, community-based schools, where a company or an organization in the community will sort of adopt one of these schools, usually an elementary school. And not only will it provide funding and resources for things that may be lacking in the school, but the members of that organization will provide mentorship to groups in the school, even to to individual students. And so we are looking, this is in Kinley Elementary is the one that we started focusing on. We have a Super Bowl pool every year where we raise money for coats for kids from that school. Every time we have a speaker, we present the school library with a book. We try to sort of connect the speaker's topic to the book choices that the school has given us a list of. And we have the speaker write an encouraging message in the book, and that's given to the school library. And we're trying to look at other ways that we can actually be a real community partner for this school. So that's something you can do on the local level. But one of my big initiatives, which seems, kind of self-evident, is to continue doing this year after year after year after year so that we become known as the Education Club. We're known for the ethics symposium that we have every year, which is we bring high school students from all of the county schools in Erie County, and they spend a day learning about ethics and the 4-way test and how to apply it in their lives. That's sort of a signature event for us. We've kind of seen these things as disparate, different projects, but I kind of want to bring them together and this idea of that we're already doing education. Let's see what else we can be doing. If we teach people about hygiene or about fighting disease, we're still doing education. How do we keep that sort of concept and use it as outreach to gain our membership and also to gain some more, support in the community for things that we want to do. So the more multi-year concept like Rotary does with the foundation. And then growing local economies. Lots of our communities right now are going through, have been going through revitalization. We're still trying to figure out how to kind of remake ourselves from being manufacturing bases or, in our Appalachian region, trying to move beyond coal as a primary job opportunity, to try to understand what the future is going to bring to us and how we can be the ones at the forefront of meeting it. So locally, we see the importance of developing economies and also supporting, economic development in other overseas where it might seem to be more dire. So we have these 6 areas that we know about. Rotary has decided that they're remiss and they have skipped an area. So they now have decided that we have 7 areas of focus, and that supporting the environment should be, much like peace, part of any of these other initiatives that we do. So when we do economic development planning, for instance, we should always have an element of the environment and be thinking about that sustainability, that sort of 1,000-year plan, or 6 generations, or however you like to put it, in terms of how we develop our new economies. So the environment is also a critical piece of this, these areas of focus. So as you all know, since you are a Peace Builder Club, it is too easy to become a designated peace builder, right? So it's a matter of the purposes are listed here, just to really implement the efforts of Rotary International and the efforts of our club, thinking about peace in everything that we do. And, all you have to do is basically fill out the application and think about the projects that you're already doing that fit into these 7 areas and how they all relate to peace. And here we are, we're all peace builders already. So of course, now we have 198 peace builder clubs. When I started this effort, there were 92 in the United States. So not because of me, obviously, although we've added, 30 to the ranks, 20, at least 20 to the ranks. I had to double check my notes. I think I'm remiss with one club. But as of now, we've doubled the number of peace builder clubs since this was brought to our attention. Are we going to say that? Does somebody have a comment? No. Okay. All right. So you can see the United States has 198 clubs. In our region, we have 20. There we go, and 7280 as of now. And you can see they're scattered all over our broad district base. And the list is on the side. So what I tried to do this past year with our Rotary clubs with our peace builder clubs, is to have monthly or quarterly meetings where we got together and we talked about what are our clubs doing to promote peace. And maybe we can learn from each other and share some of these projects. Maybe we can get together and do some district projects. Well, it turned out that I discovered that Rotary clubs are rugged individuals, much like Americans ourselves. And they really, really like to just do their own thing. It was pulling teeth and took about 3 months to have our first meeting. And out of 20 clubs, I think 6 were able to attend. And then I sent out an assignment for the clubs to actually, tell us, what projects are you doing? What projects have you done in the past year? And give us a brief discussion of them and whether they're planned or underway. And you can see this is the beginning of the spreadsheet. Well, the point was to show everybody that everything they're doing is related to peace. But I didn't get full information from everybody. And forgive me, this is probably not full. This is probably not complete by any means, because the whole effort kind of came to a crashing halt by the time the pandemic came, because already people didn't want to meet with me, and now they really didn't want to meet with me. So we just kind of decided, all right, you know what? Let the clubs do what they need to do for their local communities during the pandemic. They know we're here if they need any resources. And, I just checked in with the different clubs every now and then, and everybody was really happy with what they were doing. So for instance, the club that was working on the bullying program, they took the funds that they had collected and they turned it into a food program. And so people adapted, as you know, with the pandemic. And therefore, so should our peace building committee. We shouldn't be top down directing what people should do. And that was not my intent. But at some time in the future, when people want to share information, they certainly can. Because as was noted, I'm going to be the president of the Erie Club as of July. I'm going to be stepping away from this role. I will say the Franklin Club is most impressive. They have all members of the Franklin Club have become certified peace builders as individuals. They've done all the international website. So I threw the ball over to them and said, I think maybe one of you should take over this chairmanship. And they're discussing it internally because the Erie Club really suffered. We discovered, as District Governor Beth knows, our internal club we have a lot of factions. We have 150 people in our club, or we did. So we have a lot of factions where people want different things. We're trying to decide, are we just a lunch club where people come to lunch and they don't do anything else? Should we be more a project club? Are we a check writing club? And we discovered we had elements of all of these and we weren't harnessing them effectively. So because we were so much primarily a lunch club, we suffered quite a bit through the pandemic and we lost a huge number of our members. So I'm going to have a big job come July, and I don't feel that I will be able on any of this when I really need to focus on the health of my club. So I appreciate you having me come, but you're catching me at the tail end of my time. So again, the idea is peace does nothing. Do your piece of peace, as Rotary tells us. Everything we do helps build peace. So why not be part of it? Again, I'm preaching to the choir. Again, all you have to do is fill out this form. It couldn't be easier. And that's it. So one thing that's been happening lately that's super interesting, where we're really showing, Rotary is really showing its focus on peace in a tangible way, is the growth in the placement of peace poles. And this is where you can see where they have been placed. You see a lot of them on the West Coast. You see a few scattered around in Canada and in Mexico, and you see one in Pennsylvania. Well, that belongs to the Rotary Club of Slippery Rock. And that one was placed actually, I guess it was last May, perhaps. It was during the pandemic, so it was in the past year. And so they've placed it at the location of their community library so that the whole community will see it. And there's a very nice natural rock that has a plaque on it that says it's a donation from the Rotary Club of Slippery Rock that's working toward peace. And this has been a nice way for people to come together outside and actually, support their Rotary Club, sort of stake its claim to its community and be able to talk about what we do with peace. And we have another peace pole being placed. Here's the picture of the one in Slippery Rock. There we go. Alriza was kind enough to fund it. And it's not terribly expensive, but it's something that the club has to come together on. And there's all kinds of varieties. Sometimes they say the word peace in lots of languages. Sometimes they have different sayings on them. So you can select whatever type you want if you're interested in doing this. We have one coming up in the Zillion Opal Community Park. There's going to be one placed in June. And that one is particularly special to me. I'm never able to talk about this without choking up. It's going to be, there's going to be a memorial bench with a plaque dedicated to Tom and Marie Grant. Those of you who may not know who they are, they were a wonderful, wonderful couple, a wonderful team who were ambassadors to the shelter box. I would be surprised if they never came to your club or if you never met them or saw them at a district event. They were always there, force of nature together. And we lost them this past year. And so the memorial bench will be incorporated with the Rotary Peace Pole as a memorial to them. So that's something that people are doing to really show the Rotary support for peace. Another initiative that's coming up right now is it's Youth and Peace in Action. I explain here, a couple of years ago, the zone had its big meeting in Erie, and poor Lisa Graff, our president and now area governor, was trying to get people to help with this. But I, for one, and most of the other Rotary members really didn't know what a zone was. So we couldn't really understand what an honor it was that they were coming to Erie. We didn't really understand who these people were. And so if you're not familiar, Rotary Zones 33 and 34 work together. And that's where our District 7280 is located within Rotary Zone 33, but they work in tandem. You can see they're enormous chunks of Rotarians. So they incorporate the US, the Mid-Atlantic and Southeastern United States, as well as all these countries. So that's an enormous area. And the zones have a new initiative called Youth and Peace in Action. They tell us it's the largest youth-focused program in Rotary International's history. So again, it combines youth and the focus on conflict prevention resolution. So it's definitely a peace program as well as a youth program. And they're looking for a $500,000 commitment to promote peace education, training, and project mentoring with youth. It's focused on high school students, their teachers, and their service club members, which of course schools can have their own service clubs that can work with this. But just, keep in mind, it's sort of like, for Rotary, the natural fit is Interact. It's an opportunity to sort of use this program to like maybe build a new Interact program in your high school, or to really maybe jumpstart an Interact program that may have started some time ago, lost some traction with the pandemic. So it's going to be a little bit focused on Interact, but focused mainly on high school students and teachers. And District Governor Beth will be introducing this, and it will be implemented under our District Governor-elect, Rick Tote, for our district. And I think that's all I have. And, I did want to explain the impact of this. I'll leave this up if you like, Beth, while you go ahead and tell them more about it, just as a little reference, or I can unshare my screen. It's up to you.
No, go ahead and leave it up. At some point, Mac, if you can give me clearance to share my screen, I would like to jump on to the the zone webpage and show you some videos about.
Yeah, you'll be able to share screen.
All right, thanks, Meg.
Stop. Give it up.
All right, thank you so much, Diane. That was amazing and a lot of good information. Yes, we have 7 areas of focus, and we need to work with all of them to have success, because without peace, we can't eradicate polio. We lost 3 polio volunteers last month to violence in Afghanistan. So everything intertwined. So it is important to support all the areas of focus. But peace is especially important because it just alleviates a lot of complications to accomplishing the goals that we have. So that being said, during my year in training as district governor and throughout this year, Stephanie Yurchek has been our director of the zones that Diane just showed you on the screen, which go from our district being the northernmost down into the Caribbean. And her initiative was the Feed 10 Million. And so that will be closing at the end of the year. Well, Peter Kyle, who is from the DC area, has had a long background in peace and conflict resolution, and his heart led him to try to bring this initiative to the zone during his year, which starts July 1. And the Youth in Peace in Action is something that was kind of developed by teaming 2 past peace scholars from the peace centers in their different initiatives. One is Outward Bound and one is New Gen. And both of those independent programs worked on educating teens on conflict resolution. And I think it's so important for us to reach kids and get them to understand that their emotions are valid and they're real, but there is a good way to handle how you feel and how you react to situations. And so they got them into classrooms and they started working with them and developing some things, and then tried to encourage them to focus on an area of conflict and bring to that. So with that being developed, Peter took note of that and said, hey, that's something that we could build some curriculum on and take out to our zones and get each district support. Now, the minimum entry into one of these to the curriculum is $15,000 per district. So if we decide to go forward with this in our district in Rick's year, we have to kind of start, actually, we should have started a while ago, but we're trying to work on it now. And so what we are showing you is some of the things that are on the zone website are a bit of the curriculum, a bit of the videos, so that you have kind of an understanding of what it's about. And we're asking clubs to consider supporting it by going to their school districts. So I know Chuck is involved with Interact, and I believe you guys are down to one of your 2 school districts having an active Interact, but maybe going into those Interact clubs and saying, would you be interested in implementing some of this peace and conflict resolution curriculum? And once we commit as a district, then the peace scholars will actually then train our teachers and our Interact sponsors on how to use the curriculum. So don't want to get the cart before the horse. We really need to make sure that the schools would support it, that they'd find a place for it. Diane had mentioned that one of our clubs has a bullying program. I believe that's the Clarion Club. So for something like that, where they've already got it going on, it's a lot easier to put it in. But it's going to be a little bit of a slow warm up, I think, for schools to do this, especially in this light of this year with so many other focuses and concerns going on with safety. But my ask is that our clubs reach out and at least get a pulse on whether this is something that the schools are interested in, or if it's plausible. And then at that point, if it does seem to have some interest, maybe having a discussion within your club, whether you would be willing to contribute to the district's total that they need to contribute. So talking to Patty, there's no guarantee that there'd be a district grant match to this like we have done with other programs. But I hope that that's something we can do so that, if you contribute 500, we can take 500 of the district's DDF and match it, and we could get to that 15 a lot quicker that way, but that has yet to be determined. So with all that said, if I can, please forgive me for not always being so tech savvy. See if I can find my screen. Pull up my, no, that's not it. There it is. What did I do?
Sometimes you have to stop sharing and share again if you didn't have the right screen up.
I think this is it. So right here is case study case scenarios. So right now I'm in the Zone 3334 webpage under. You're not seeing it?
No. Try to stop share and share again. Pick the right frame.
How's that?
And we have YouTube up now, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
In July 2011, South Sudan became the world's newest country.
I think you need to share the sound when you share the screen. There's usually a little thing that asks you if you want to share sound when you share screen, because it's not really coming through to me.
I'm sorry, Diane, tell me where to go again for that.
So if you unshare and reshare, when you reshare their screen, it asks you down in the left-hand corner, do you want to share sound? And that allows the sound that you're showing from the video to come through our systems.
So should I try to exit out again?
I'm not hearing it. Maybe others are hearing it.
No, I think we're just hearing it through her speaker maybe or
Yeah.
something.
Okay, so it's too
Also
quiet.
try doing full screen on YouTube
Okay.
when you share it.
Possible for young Legion scholars like you.
Maybe turn it up a little, because it's still coming through your system.
I mean, worst case, Beth, you could hit closed caption down at the bottom right corner.
Or if you want to send me the link, I can try.
And with an initiative at Myers Park High School,
There we go.
Carolina, USA.
Great.
Interest in creating a project started when a group of students at my school, Myers Park High, realized that a number of refugees from South Sudan had attended our school and lived in our city. Many of them are Lost Boys of Sudan, a name given to almost 30,000 young boys who fled when their villages were destroyed and family members were killed during the long civil war. Nearly 17,000 survived the month-long walks to refugee camps. In 2001, about 4,000 were invited to come to the United States and Canada to become citizens. A famous documentary called God Grew Tired of Us and a book for middle school students called A Long Walk to Water featured stories of many lost boys. Many of them, as well as other South Sudanese refugees, dreamed of one day helping home villages to build schools, clinics, and wells. We began by asking some Lost Boys to describe their experiences in war and their dreams. One, named James Luba Majak, shared the philosophy, "From education comes wisdom, from wisdom comes peace." The challenge, he says, is that the effect of long-term war in his community includes only 2% of boys and 1% of girls having finished primary school. More than 90% of adults can't read or write. The UN Declaration of Human Rights proposes that all children, everywhere, should have the right to go to school and receive a quality education. Inspired and motivated, our team of New Gen Peace Builders set an ambitious goal. We created a plan to educate students at our school about South Sudan, as well as the power of education to overcome a culture of conflict. We invited other students to pay $3 each to walk the same distance that many students walk to go to school or collect water in South Sudan, about 3 miles. Our New Gen Peace Builders team wanted the Walk for Wisdom to start in a focused way, so we collaborated with a nonprofit organization that supports schools in South Sudan, agreeing to first purchase books and solar lights for 2 specific primary schools called Nyarweng and Gumriak in Roang State. Gumriak translates from Dinka, one of the languages of South Sudan, as "for those who survived the disaster." To organize, we divided into subcommittees. Some of us worked with teachers to develop lesson plans and educational materials, especially for English and social studies classes. Other team members designed a large school assembly that schools could use to announce Walk for Wisdom plans. A third group of our team managed the logistics and registrations for the event. We publicized it through announcements, flyers, phone calls home to parents, worked with school administrators to get all necessary approvals, and contacted local businesses to contribute sponsorships and matched funds. The first Walk for Wisdom was a big success, with over 700 students participating. In the second year, our New Gen Peace Builders team decided to repeat the project at our school and form a committee to recruit other schools to join in. We started by presenting our project to principals at 4 additional schools. All agreed to participate. In year 2, more than 2,500 students from the total of 5 schools participated and raised almost $10,000.
Guys, I'm going to pause it right here just because I don't want to take up too much time, but I just wanted to give you a sample. This is just one of the projects that New Gen has done with some of their groups of kids in different schools. I wanted to actually pull up the last one that I thought would be, actually, I'm just kind of scrolling down through here. So you can see just on my right-hand side, are you able to see that? The screen? These are all the different videos, YouTube videos that once you go on to the district or the zone website and go into Youth Peace in Action, that you can see that these kids have done. I mean, obviously with the support of the program, but it's just very impressive. And so this is what Peter Kyle hopes to bring to our zone and to each of the districts that are a part of it. So again, I know it's getting late in your meeting time, and I don't want to take up too much time with all of them, but as you can see, Rice for Life, Teens Against Trafficking, Democratized and Unified, just there are quite a few, all about 4 to 6 minutes long, that showcase what New Gen and Outward Bound are working on. So I hope you guys consider it. If you need any more information, or if you want to connect with the contacts at Zone to get more information, I know we're asking for them to give us a little more definition on where those costs go to, just so that we are being as transparent with cost as well going forward. So thanks for letting me jump in on Diane's meeting with you. And again, if there's any questions, just let me know.
Okay, well, let's open it up to the group. Do we have any specific questions for either Beth or Diane? Go ahead,
Diane,
Joe.
there's so many conflicts around the world. What do you think are the primary roots of people conflicting with each other, warring with each other, violence?
You know, I thought it was nationalism in my youth because I've always been particularly interested in culture. When you look at, for instance, the Russian and Chechen wars, it was because the Chechens yearned to be free. And that's all it was. But then I worked at the International Monetary Fund for 5 years, and I was surrounded by economists who finally beat me down and convinced me it generally comes down to resources, and resources translate into power. So when you see the war in Sudan, the Darfur region, there was a possibility that there would be oil there. So the Sudanese government wanted to crack down on them and get them out of the way. The war between Sudan and South Sudan was absolutely about oil resource control. And in fact, even though they've separated into separate countries now, South Sudan has descended into war itself over control of these oil resources and other kinds of things that actually war economies that have built up, where it's not in the interest of either of the two warring leaders to actually find peace, and the people are suffering in the meantime. One of the other things that I've found in my experience as an intelligence analyst and also as somebody involved in peacemaking and serving as a sort of subject matter expert on sub-Saharan Africa for the Army for the last 10 years is, and I've written a couple of books about this, so if you want more details, you can find them as well. But it's really a matter of our Western misunderstanding of local conflicts and their sources that we brand as terrorism. And we have opened up the global war on terrorism, to where we declared war and went to war in Iraq officially. We did the same in Afghanistan, but we are actually have combat taking place in over 160 countries, where we are actively killing people that we consider to be terrorists as part of the global war on terrorism. Now, in some place like Mali, for instance, this is really a matter of nationalist separatism. But the Malian Tuaregs, who have wanted to separate from the main government, they allied short term with some more radical elements who are also Muslim. They fought together because they had kinship ties for a while. And then the government was able to label all the separatists as being terrorists. And we came in and said, okay, we'll help you eradicate them. So it's our failure to understand local grievances and the willingness of those with local grievances to sometimes ally themselves with the larger terrorist groups so they can recruit better. So there's a lot of misunderstanding of historical context, I think, which is really the fodder for another lecture. And I'll stop now. Thanks for asking.
So I guess what you're saying is that, we get called in to kill off somebody's enemy, and it just depends on how it's, we can convince them they're terrorists, we'll go kill them. And
exactly right. That's one of the main things we do.
Necessarily the bad guys, or there may not be any good guys in the conflict.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So it's a lot of misunderstanding, and then a lot of it comes down to resources. So that's the long and short.
I wonder how the availability of vaccine is going to influence or exacerbate conflicts and problems, because obviously it's going to be a scarce and very desirable resource for a while.
I would say that's an excellent point, because we looked at water as anticipating that to be the great divider. But in the near term, I think you're absolutely right, because I think the limited amount that has been released from the countries that are doing it to the really, really developing countries is so minimal that we don't know what's going to happen when they start releasing larger amounts of it. And I think you're going to find, warlords getting a hold of it, for instance, deciding who gets them, and who knows who else. But it's going to be a fascinating, unfortunately, and possibly devastating situation. It's an excellent point.
Go ahead, Joe.
Diane, first of all, congratulations on being president-elect.
Really?
Our condolences.
Yeah, maybe in this case, but thank you very much. I look forward to it.
It's exciting. Hey, about 3 years ago at the district conference, I think it was 3 years ago in Erie, you first talked about the program to serve schools that were underserved with the program with the state police.
Yeah.
Who would go to the schools on a regular basis and become much better acquainted with the students and their lives and vice versa. Where does that stand? Is that still available? And I know it was in the $25,000 range, I think.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a program that's extremely close to my heart. It has been expanding in the Erie area and I think into Meadville. The problem was we had first thought of it as a district peace program, but then some in the decision-making process felt that it wasn't fair for faraway districts or faraway clubs like yours, for instance, to be funding such a program in, say, Meadville, where it wasn't actually affecting your students. So the kind of idea of making it a district project sort of was taken off the table. But it is thriving. It is always in interest of expanding to new school districts. And Matt Harris, who is the retired state trooper that you mentioned, who formed the program. It's just an extraordinary program. It's called Character, Be About It. Hey, Character, be about it. I like how it's kind of in your face that way. And they just form these bonds with these kids who would otherwise only see police. And that was Matt's thought. He went into so many homes when they were in disarray and they were in extreme crisis. And kids only had experience with police when their parents were being taken away or something traumatic was happening in their lives. And he wanted them to see police in a positive light and see them as a force for good in their communities. And boy, oh boy, his brother got involved in it, who's a current trooper. He got involved in the classroom. And now for the last 3 or 4 years, he's been the basketball coach at that school. I mean, they can't get enough, They just really, really give their hearts and souls to these kids and the kids give it right back. And they all say to a child that each child will say their life was changed and that they really have a different view of police. And I just can't understand why this isn't like something that every school district would want, especially when we look around our local communities and our nation and see the problems that we're having right now.
It's great.
I'd be more than happy to get you in touch with Matt if you thought it was something that your school district would be interested in having.
Well, I could see how you say it's a local, it's a community, more of a community project. And there are some people in Pittsburgh that might be interested in that in the city. But
okay.
Okay. Well, I can always, I'll get a hold of you in your email or something like that.
Please do. I mean, there's no shortage of state troopers who would be interested in doing this around the state, to start with. There's no limit on him providing the training package, and all of the associated materials. And then Penn State has a program that does educational evaluation, and they evaluate the program as it's done in each school to see if it's actually making a difference in the attitudes of the kids. And hands down, they see the difference with the data. So yeah, that's definitely something that's transportable. They've talked to the Georgia State, is it the Sheriff's Department or Sheriff's Association, and they've talked to a couple of other states. And I haven't spoken to Matt in the last couple of months, so I'm not sure where they are with that. But there's a lot of communities interested. I'd be very happy to talk to you about it more or put you in touch with him. Thanks, Joe.
Any other questions?
You've taken your hour.
Well, you guys did such a thorough job of explaining everything. But on behalf of the club, thank you so much, District Governor Beth and Diane. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. This was fantastic and just so informative. So we appreciate it. And everyone have a great rest of the week.
Thanks so much for having us. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye now.